More than 30,000 people have signed a petition to ban taxis from the Kruger National Park. The petition was created after a Swiss tourist was killed when a minibus taxi crashed into a giraffe earlier this month. It cites multiple incidents of speeding by taxi drivers. Let's get your reaction. I'm joined now by Isaac Patla. He is the spokesperson for SANParks and specifically for the Kruger National Park. Thank you very much for your time this Saturday afternoon, Mr. Patla.
Thank you very much, Anli. You can call me Ike.
Ike. I want to start off by getting some more context on this specific incident because it sparked the petition. So what I understood happened was the taxi driver crashed into a giraffe who then fell on another vehicle in which the Swiss tourist was traveling. Is that correct?
Correct. He was traveling, and I don't think it would be proper for us to say it's a minibus taxi, because in this instance it was a number of community members who had hired this specific. We don't know whether they hired it or it's part of the community. So he was traveling towards Letaba for a day's outing, and he crashed into this animal. Unfortunately, it fell onto the other vehicle, which was traveling in the opposite direction, and then we landed with this fatality.
Okay. So a couple of things we need to clarify before we can immediately say, well, let's just ban taxis outright, because we don't know, as you're saying, if that vehicle was indeed a minibus taxi or whether it was merely a combi being used as an outing for the day by community members.
Correct.
And do we know whether this vehicle was speeding when it crashed into the giraffe?
I think we're not going to speculate on those aspects, only just to respect the process that is currently unfolding. It is a police matter. Somebody was killed. There was a car accident in the Kruger National Park. Clearly, there might have been rules that have been broken, because animals always have the right of way in the parks. And we don't want to venture into that area. The SAPS will inform us once they've concluded their investigations. And I presume also that the car, because it was hired, which was used by the Swiss tourist, those people will also do their own forensic tests, and then we will find out at the end of those investigations.
Of course, the situation has far-reaching implications that go either way. So if taxis are banned from the Kruger National Park, the park loses a certain sector of tourism, and local South Africans have a right to visit the park, and that's not restricted to people who only own their own private vehicles. Surely people in larger groups should be able to access the park as well. On the flip side, if we don't have some kind of a judgment trying to protect the safety of other road users in the parks, that's also going to impact the willingness of tourists locally and abroad to visit the park. What is the park's position?
We have a zero-tolerance policy towards speeding, whether it be a minibus taxi, whether it be a normal car. We are much more stricter on our employees, who should know better, as well as our service providers. Now, there are no taxis that travel inside the Kruger National Park, except between Phalaborwa using the Giriondo border post, and those would be people that are traveling to Mozambique. And those people, it's a highly regulated route. They have to apply for permits. They have to do certain things. We have to check their roadworthy, and those are the only people that we have. I think the 30,000 people, odd people, that took advantage of the latest tragedy, it's opportunistic. We still have a section of our population that is poor. We're living in a very unequal society. People that have got their own cars, and people that have to pull together resources to access the park. And so we can't ban people and make it exclusive to those who are much more privileged.
So how do we go about putting in stricter measures, perhaps in terms of policing the speed limits, to make sure that everyone, regardless of what kind of access they have to their own transport or other transport, are safe using those roads, and that the animals ultimately, because let's not forget that there's a human fatality but also an animal fatality in this incident?
We have recalibrated our cameras. They were out of commission for some time, and those are now have been commissioned. And I can tell you, Anli, that it was surprising. On the day that we commissioned them, we arrested actually 50 people, and none of them were minibus taxis. And those were people who were speeding, who are local tourists, who should have known better We have a speed limit and people are breaking the rules. But we have been given the powers now under the NEMPA Act to also issue out fines. So people are going to be fined. But obviously we're dealing with a very unique situation in the Kruger National Park. It's 2 million hectares estate. You can't put a traffic officer after every tree because people go there to try and enjoy nature as much as they can. But we do have people that are patrolling the roads. And we do have our rangers, South African Police Services, also help us at the South African National Defence Force. So it's not like we're not doing anything. We are doing all we can. What we are urging South Africans, and especially drivers in the Kruger National Park, observe the speed limit. The bush can be very surprising. It's a rainy season now. You turn around a corner, you will find there's an elephant there. So you have to be extra cautious.
And the bushes next to the side of the roads are a lot more lush, hiding animals that could just step out into the road.
Precisely, and they don't have a concept of traffic.
Absolutely. And also that is the festive season. We always see an increase in visitors to the park during this time. So there you have it. From Isaac Patla, spokesperson for the Kruger National Park, please adhere to the speed limits while enjoying nature.